There's so many different emotions that are running through this album. There's anger, there's loss, sadness, maybe a little bit of schizophrenia in there as well. I'm out to lunch with John Bale. I've got this big plan. We really want to be on Metal Blade Records. We're going to try to make that happen. It would be awesome if you would come back. Don't answer now, but get back to me whenever you come to a decision. I immediately responded. I said, don't need to think about it. You know I'm down. But I will say this new instrumental is very different from previous ones. Though if you're a fan of Exodus of Autonomy, I think you're really going to dig it. Get ready because this one is just about 17 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
Steven wanted to play a joke on me. He was like, okay, sorry, man, but you're not going to be the new vocalist for Instance Forgotten. My face dropped, and apparently I looked like I was not happy. And then Steven was just like, you're going to be the new vocalist for Wretched.
He's the vocalist for a death metal band from North Carolina. You may know them from their instrumental song 6, The Exodus of Autonomy, and their album Decay comes out October 17th. Please welcome Billy from Wretched to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Awesome. I'm excited to talk about this album, hear more about the band as a whole, everything like that, get to know you a bit more, and yeah, just have a good time.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great,
Awesome.
man. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's start things off with just like the singles from this album, including the title track, Decay, that came out.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of made you guys want to put the title track out, and is it just like the best showcase of what's coming in the album, or just take me into the process of deciding on that single?
So we ran through pretty much every single track on the album to see more so just talked about it amongst ourselves about every single track and what each track had to offer. And DK was ultimately the one that we landed on for the first single because it has, I mean, it's got heavy, it's got groove, it's got the melody. It pretty much has everything that you can expect to hear from the rest of the album. Whereas some of the songs may have more melody to them, maybe a little bit slower. But then we've got a few songs that are still going to be that in your face, wretched that everybody knows from our previous efforts.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome, and I'm looking forward to hearing the full album. Exactly a month away, basically from today as we
Yeah.
record this, and so I'm sure, and there's no need to like spoil anything or give anything away. But as long as you're willing to share, like, kind of what else can people expect from the album, or maybe what are some of the other singles that would come out before the album?
Well, we did today just drop a teaser. It's going to be a visualizer lyric video, and it's for our second single off of the album called Radiance. That is track 5 on the album. So that will be available for streaming, and that visualizer lyric video will be up tomorrow. So look forward to that. That's probably one of the heavier songs on the album. I mean, it just comes in straight, hits your face, and just doesn't stop. The outro to the song after shortly after the vocals stop is just very melodic. It's got a very um, almost a lost feeling to it. There's so many different emotions that are running through this album. Like there's anger, there's loss, there's sadness, maybe a little bit of schizophrenia in there as well, especially when it concerns the lyrics.
Okay,
Yeah, there's just a lot of weird stuff going
yeah,
on, but it's
no,
it's
that's
all
awesome.
thrown in very well. I feel.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm curious, like with this new album, I mean, looking back, like you said, to the previous works of the band, there was kind of like a good rhythm, a good cadence to the albums coming out, and then now it's been a huge gap between Cannibal, the last album, and now. What can you just kind of tell me about what was going on in that
Yeah,
like over a decade long break?
yeah, literally over a decade long. Yeah, I think Cannibal came out in 2014.
Yeah.
So we're at 11 years now. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it. So what led to the gap? I know. So I wasn't on the last two albums. I wasn't on Son of Perdition and I wasn't on Cannibal. I was on the Exodus of Autonomy and Beyond the Gate. Um,
Okay.
from my understanding, well, I know that Cannibal pretty much wrapped up the contract with Victory Records. Then they everybody just kind of started to live. I think they had a good bit of downtime, and then everybody just started to live their lives and just kind of go their own way and figure some things out on their own. And I know that in 2017, I mean there were some shows that were played in between, specifically out in Charlotte. I know they did a few small runs into other states as well during that hiatus period, so to speak. But yeah, it's just things just came up. Life got in the way of life, and life got in the way of the music. And then in around I think 2017 or so, they started to tease the idea of writing a new album, which they did start to write. But then everything, life just got in the way again. I know Steven, he's working with Through the Eyes of the Dead now, so that probably took some precedent for him as well, since Wretched wasn't really doing anything. And I was consistently dropping hints to Steven because he and I kept in touch pretty well over the last several years prior to 2022. And anytime his other band would come and play in Georgia, I would go see him, and I'd be like, "Hey, man, if you want to get Wretched back together, just hit me up. I'm ready to do it. I'm down to do it. Whatever you guys need. Like, I'll just come in and throw some vocals on a track if Adam doesn't want me to step in the throws in his place."
Yeah.
But yeah, they reached out to Adam, said that they were gonna consider getting it back together, and Adam stepped back. So then Steven came to me, and yeah, here we are now. And that was May of 2022. And he sent me a text and he was like, "Hey, I'm out to lunch with John Vale, who was on Beyond the Gate, and I believe he was on Son of Perdition as well, and Cannibal, on guitar." And he was just like, "Hey, man, so I'm out to lunch with John. I've got this big plan. We really want to be on Metal Blade Records. We're going to try to make that happen. And, like, it would be awesome if you would come back and rejoin the fray. Don't answer now, but just, get back to me whenever you come to a decision." And I immediately responded. I said, "Don't need to think about it. I'm down." So then we started writing the new album, and that was back in 2022, man. So this album has been in the making I mean, we're towards the end of 2025 now. So we're
Yeah.
coming up on 3 years that this album has been at least being written. It was pretty much finalized at the beginning of 2024. And then we tracked it in April of 2024. And then, yeah, we were hoping
And
for
now we're here.
at least a fall. I mean, at least a December release for 2024. And then mixing took too long. I wouldn't say too long, because mixing took the amount of time it needed for it
Yeah.
to sound
Yeah.
the way that it does. And then we had to get the
Longer
mastering
than
process done, and
expected,
then we
though.
had to go through all the hoops. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad that it took as long as it did, because if it didn't, we wouldn't have the product that we have now. And I know for one, am incredibly proud of this. I'm more proud of this than the Exodus of Autonomy and Beyond the Gate, and I'm sure, like
Wow.
everybody else in the band, is very much more proud of this effort than previous ones, despite it
That's
being slightly different from what we've put out in the past.
well, I mean, no, that's awesome. That's what you want from a new project.
Evolution is the key, man.
And then just like getting into some of the live stuff from this album and leading up to it, back in August, you did a run of shows with Æther and Paladin. Did you play any of
Mhm.
the songs from this upcoming album?
The only song that we played was Decay so far.
Okay.
We toyed with the idea of playing other songs from the new album, even back in like when we did Metal Injection Fest last year. Or was that? Time is just a flat circle, and
I
I'm
get
stuck in it
it.
right now. But yeah, we toyed with the idea of playing new songs on other shows, but we were, I wouldn't say urged, we were advised to not because our manager Jason with Unchained, he was basically put it to us like, is the first time people hear this song really, or do you really want the first time that people hear this song across the country and wherever else to really hear it from a shitty cell phone video or something like that?
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but uh, that put it into perspective for us that we're like, okay, we can hold off a little bit. Which every single song on this new album, save for the instrumental and the song Lights that comes after, directly after the instrumental. Um, but everything is so fun to play. It's, I wouldn't say it's easier for me because I still do some intricate and quick vocal patterns, and I my transitions between parts in songs is still a little bit, I guess, vocally hectic. Um, with finding the right place to breathe and everything like that. So I mean, I still have
Yeah.
a workout cut out for me. But we have been playing Decay live. It's so fun. And this upcoming tour that we were supposed to do with 6 Feet Under, that unfortunately just got canceled last week, we were going
Oh,
to start playing Radiance on that as well. And we were toying with the idea of playing what's going to be our third single on that as well. But we kind of geared back on that. But yeah,
yeah. No,
but
I'm
yeah,
sorry
we
to hear
have been
about
playing
that.
Decay. It's very
It was
unfortunate, but
in my notes here was
I
literally my
I'm a
next question to bring up the upcoming tour was 6 Feet Under. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, feel free to ask that question still, but it may need to be worded a little differently now.
yeah. Well, so I mean, obviously it'll get canceled for whatever reasons there are, but like at least just like getting that opportunity or being lined up to do that, I'm sure is a great like kind of accomplishment for you guys or a great feeling. What were you looking forward to on this tour?
Everything. I The one thing that I missed about my time away from Wretched, because I mean, after like when I quit right after a Northeast and Canadian tour, which should have been really cool, but it didn't turn out to be, just because of the bands that we were really paired up with. And it's nothing against them or their style of music. It's just they're very breakdown heavy, and they're very they weren't like the technical, like melodic death metal that we were. So
Yeah.
I don't think the fans of theirs really got it because they weren't really there to see us at that point. Um, but it was kind of a morale crusher. But I mean, I'm getting off on a freaking tangent here. But to answer your question directly, the things that I was most excited about with the upcoming tour, that unfortunately is no longer happening, is I love meeting new people. I love playing to new people. Um, I love playing to people that have seen us before, whether they've seen me with the band or not, because I know Wretched still did a great amount of touring after I quit at the end of 2010. Um, and just meeting those people, and being in a different city every day, just the exploration of it. Driving, I love driving. The West, just one thing specifically, just being in, because I remember on a tour in 2009 or early 2010, I pulled over in the middle of the desert, between Texas and New Mexico, and uh, I just got out and stared at the sky, and like no light pollution whatsoever. The sky was completely littered with stars. And if you've not been to a desolate area and just stared into the sky, it's absolutely breathtaking. And it's, yeah, that's one thing that I also really was looking forward to. As maybe that sounds lame, but
No, no, it sounds like a great adventure.
yeah,
I want to do
yeah,
that. You know, I
yeah.
want to
It's
have,
very fun.
yeah, it's very interesting because I've been, I mean, probably like talk about light pollution. I've been near New York City before at night, and like you can, in probably the most obvious example, literally see almost like a like dome of light coming from the city and like going into the night sky,
Yeah,
which is crazy, which like you don't even like you kind of need that distance or that space from it to realize how much light pollution is around you and how much like it affects the sky that you're looking at.
absolutely. Like even when I first moved to North Carolina when I was 10 years old, I came from Arizona, and Arizona, we were far enough away from, lived in Chandler. So that's like right near Phoenix, but still far enough away from Phoenix to where the light pollution wasn't really screwing up a lot. And also, this was 1995. So, I mean, the city of Phoenix wasn't completely built up to the way it is now. So
Hmm.
I remember just being able to see a ton in the sky back then. And then even when we moved to North Carolina, it was the same. But as everything grows, uh, other things tend to shrink, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately.
Are you a music artist looking to get your songs on Spotify, Apple Music, and basically every other streaming platform? Then you should check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a music distribution service. It's what I use to get all my music out across platforms, and I find it really helpful. You can manage your songs, lyrics, credits, and even manage releases across artists under one account. I don't think I would have gotten started as early as I did with music if it weren't for DistroKid. So if you want to get started, I'll put their pricing on the screen here. And yes, that does say the cheapest plan is at $2 a month. I know some of you spend more than that every day on your coffees. Like this is to get your music heard by the world. But we're getting off track. DistroKid has so many additional features like pre-save pages, getting your music onto platforms like Instagram and TikTok, where people can put your music on their posts. If you use my link in the description, you will get 7% off any of these plans, making it even cheaper to get your career started, and so much more. So again, check out my link in the description for 7% off any plan. And now let's get back to the episode.
Let's see how well I can do this segue. In a good way of growth, the in the most streamed track you guys have on Spotify, which I mentioned in the intro, the Exodus of Autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
is like it's an instrumental track. When I was listening to some more of your guys' stuff to prep for this, I listened to The Stellar Sunset of Evolution Part 2, which is another like instrumental track. What kind of
Mm-hmm.
draws you guys to instrumental tracks, or how do you go about balancing like instrumental and vocal songs?
Um, it's kind of, see, I don't the best way to answer this question.
Yeah, that's all right. And maybe it's just
With
like whatever comes naturally. But I was curious because I feel like, most times nowadays that you see an instrumental, it's like, oh, the song's already released and we're just like also giving you the instrumental. I've this was a pleasant surprise to see a band and an artist to come out with songs that like in their full forms are instrumental songs.
hmm Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, with Exodus of Autonomy, that I think you did kind of hit it on the head, where it is something that kind of comes naturally. I know Stephen, it was more so Stephen and Marshall's idea from the start to do stuff like that on the album. Just to kind of, I don't know if it was necessarily to give kind of like a break in between. Like the aggressive vocals and stuff like that. But I think it's something that we've always kind of said is Wretched is music for the musician. So that's probably
I like
where
that.
the addition of instrumentals stems from, because it's just to give somebody a taste of the talent that is brooding within the minds of these other three guys, four in some cases, that they've got more tricks up their sleeve that don't have to be masked by vocals to be good. And not enough bands touch on that anymore. But I will say this new instrumental is very different from previous ones. Though if you're a fan of Exodus of Autonomy, I think you're really going to dig it, and get ready, because this one is just just about 17 minutes long.
Oh wow. And how
Yeah,
do
this
you
is
even
the biggest.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is just the biggest one to date.
Yeah, I mean, how do you even like go about making a song like that, or what went into the process of making a 17-minute long song?
That's a good question for Steven, but I will
Okay,
say
yeah.
that
Fair point.
I was I was yeah, I was witness to the process, at least through maybe like through textual form. And I can tell you a lot of work goes into it. A lot of frustration uh, kind of stems from it as well. But I tell you, when he nails it, he nails it.
Mhm.
There's no question about that whatsoever. And this one has a lot of different things in it too that we haven't done in the past. This new instrumental, like the entire album, is just a journey from front to back. It may take a listen or two to like fully absorb what's actually going on, but I do believe that that's just because of like when you listen to it, you're not sure how to feel because there's such a range of emotion behind and mixed within this album that it's hard to pinpoint what the hell is actually going through your mind while you're listening to it.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And I mean, I love that motto that you said that Wretched is music for musicians. But I'm also curious with like just that name Wretched. Like I remember the first time I heard it, I was expecting very like dirty, heavy, like blast beat,
Yeah.
crazy music, and then it's like very technical and like super awesome to listen to, and like kind of. I mean, it's not super like always like mellow in a objective sense, but mellow in terms of a death metal band. And so, how did you come up with the name Wretched for the band, or where did that
Um,
originate?
I believe that was Joel Moore's idea. He was he was a guitarist alongside Steve for Exodus of Autonomy. He wrote a little bit, did he? And he was on Son of Perdition as well, I believe. Maybe Cannibal. Um, but he also helped write a couple of the track the bands. He's still a part of it, but to get back on track because I like to derail, it seems, all the time. He
That's all right.
Joel, I believe, is the one who came up with it. The band was called Ensigns Forgotten prior, and when I tried out for the band, I was under the impression it was still going to Ensigns Forgotten was still going to continue. And they gave me the hardest song to write to, which was The Descent on the Exodus of Autonomy. And I had already written lyrics for my other band um, that I was in at the time and that I hadn't put to use yet. And I was struggling a little bit writing The Descent. And then I just was just like, hold on a second. And then I put these lyrics to it and they fit perfectly. I mean, I had to make some changes and stuff in the studio when it came down to it, but very minimal. And then when I drove back out to Stevens, and I was just like, okay, cool. We're going to practice, do some stuff. I'm going to get put in the band and blah, blah, blah. And they took me to a cookout. I don't know if you're familiar with cookout.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then Steven wanted to play a joke on me. He was like, okay, sorry, man, but you're not going to be the new vocalist for Ensigns Forgotten. And then like my face dropped and apparently I looked like I was not happy. And then Steven was just like, you're going to be new vocalist for Wretched. So that's the first time I ever heard the band
Okay.
referred to as Wretched. But then I was just like, yeah, that's fucking sick. But yeah, it's like to touch on what you were saying. It is kind of a curveball to hear the band name before hearing the band and have a completely different expectation of what you're about to listen to.
Yeah.
And I think this new album is as well is going to it's going to even further that curveball because there are still people that obviously don't know who the hell we are. And when they hear us for the first time or they hear our name for the first time and then they go in and listen to it, it's going to be completely different than anything that they really expect. I mean, I can't say that. And yeah,
I mean, yeah,
it's
which is
different.
fine. It's still a nice surprise. It's
Yeah.
still good to have that. And I mean, yeah, I feel like inherently there are going to be artists and bands that either one, like their music doesn't have to sound that based on their name and everything. But also, I know, especially for a band like this that's been around so long, like just people evolve and sounds evolve. And like, even if you make an artist project or a band with the perfect name and you're like, yeah, this really fits, eventually over time, you're going to start making things that kind of branch out from that a bit and don't fit it as well. And so,
Yeah.
I still think it's an awesome band name and good to you guys,
Heck
and
yeah.
it's always a nice surprise to for new listeners.
Hey heroes, sorry to interrupt that podcast episode, which I hope you are enjoying, but I wanted to tell you about my clothing line, Quest Clothing. Ever since I started really pursuing YouTube and music and all these creative things that I do, I've dreamed about starting this clothing line specifically. I had the name, I had the idea like for years before I started it, and now it's finally here. You can wear clothes like this. I have sweatshirts available, t-shirts, even clothing for like my music with cover arts and lyrics and things like that. It's all super, super cool. And right now is the best way for you guys to support me across everything I do. So be sure to check out the Quest Clothing web store with the link in the description and follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates about collections, discounts, things like that. Anyways, I don't want this self-sponsorship to take too long, so let's get back to the episode.
I want to take kind of a quick break. I promise we're going to get back into music stuff, but just I'm so
You're all good.
interested in the decision. I think I'm trying, no, second person I know in real life that has tattoos, including like all over the top of the head and everything, and on the skull. Just what was kind of like the decision-making process around that, I guess, or when did you start making the decision like, okay, not only am I getting tattoos, but like on the head, let's do it.
I mean, I would always wear a hat. So for me,
Hmm.
I have a receding hairline. So I figured like years and years ago, I was like, I'm gonna get tattoos on my head. It'll be fine. Blah blah blah. Because I just saw we were on tour with uh, there's a band called Suffocate, and they're I don't know if he's still their vocalist, but his name's Ricky Hoover. He just had some script across his forehead in like an elegant font, and I just thought it looked freaking cool. So I was just like, I kind
Yeah.
of want to do that. And it wasn't really like, then I started like several years ago, like really thinking hard about it. And I was just like, do I really want to do this? And then I was just like, well, yeah. And then I did it. And I did it after a night of a lot of heavy drinking too. So I was really hungover,
Okay.
which, yeah, probably wasn't the best idea, but and then I just got it done, and then I started to look at myself in the mirror differently, and it's not in a sense of like, oh man, I look so tough, but more so like I look better
Yeah.
to myself. So that's, I mean, that's kind of like I mean, a lot of people get tattoos for different reasons. I get tattoos of things that I'm incredibly passionate about, things that make sense to me, that tell my story as a person, things that I'm interested in. Like my right arm is completely covered in Lord of the Rings. My left arm is
Awesome.
more about half covered in Jim Henson's Labyrinth. I've got a xenomorph on one side of my head from Alien. I've got the alien from Independence Day on the other side of my head. I've got 5 stars right above my left knee that I got with one of my best friends, and that's like the 5-star rating or the 5-star wanted level from Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto. I've got a tattoo of a pizza slice on my thumb that I also have with that same best friend. And then my forehead says Nightbringer, and that is an ode to Trevor Sternad from the Black Dahlia murder. So I got that like shortly after he passed.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like all have great stories, like you said, very meaningful to yourself, which is like
Yeah,
a very important part of getting tattoos. And just I know you kind of like said it in passing, but like the enjoying the way you look is a huge part of it, and like definitely
for
fits.
sure.
I mean, just from the short time I've known you, fits your vibe. Like it fits the look that you got going on, and so it's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
yeah. So like I promise back into the music, but still like
Dude, I
connecting
mean,
with you.
it's okay. We can talk about anything, man. Like I enjoy having good
Well,
conversation,
yeah.
and this is good conversation.
No, awesome. And that's thank you for saying that because that's my goal in this podcast.
Yeah.
And as hopefully you're about to learn, I call this hero's journey, yes, around like the branding of heroic and that name and everything. But also because with these kind of questions that I want to get into, I love like when I started interviewing people, I had all the same questions of like the music, what your hit song, tell me about that, everything. But then from
Hmm.
the conversations and everything, would just like start talking to them and getting to know them more personally as like people behind the music. And so like one of the first questions I came
Hmm.
up with, which I'm about to send over to you now, is just what was your kind of first music experience like, or what like first got you into liking music?
First experience with music. So I grew up. Um, both of my parents were uh, heavily into music. My father's still more so into the stuff that he was into when he was a teenager, or younger. Sorry, I gotta tilt this down a little bit or something.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
so my first experiences with like music, that like my parents were passionate about. My father was big into David Bowie, Black Sabbath, um, like stuff like Tommy James and the Shondells, the Doors. My dad and mother both loved them. Um, and they both loved Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix. And then that's pretty much the influence that I got from my father, along with stuff like Alice Cooper. And there's too many to mention and
Yeah.
too many to keep in my brain that's already full of so much stuff. But then when it comes to my mother, she would, whenever she would drop us off at like a babysitter's house in Arizona, like during the summertime and whatnot, um, we would listen to Bon Jovi's "Slippery When Wet" on cassette. The best Bon Jovi and only Bon Jovi album, in my opinion, that matters. But it's a freaking good album. And then there's
Yeah.
stuff like Def Leppard with like Pyromania and Hysteria, stuff like Aerosmith, Warrant. Um, and then when the 90s rolled around, she got really big into grunge, specifically Alice in Chains. So that opened up that door for me. So I was pretty much under the influence of my parents for any of the music that I had access to. And there was Guns N' Roses as well. That's another big one that my mother really loved, and my dad
Hmm.
enjoyed it too. But I think by proxy he enjoyed it because my mother did.
Yeah.
Um, but then we moved to North Carolina, um, and then I was up in my room in the apartments that we had, and they were performing a lot of their stuff off of the album Dookie because it was just coming out at that point in time, and this was 1995, and that was the first band that I guess I got myself into. So it started with Green Day, with Dookie, then still one of my favorite albums to date. Then
Yeah.
311 randomly, with their blue, like Korn and Limp Bizkit and Marilyn Manson. Like I got into Marilyn Manson before I even knew what his music sounded like, just because of the imagery and the shock of it. Um,
Yeah.
and then I started listening to that at a young age. And then I matured past that, and I started getting into, like, I mean, my first concert ever was Korn, Incubus, and Orgy, back when Brandon Boyd from Incubus still had dreads past his ass, when they were touring in support of their first full length album, Science, unless Fungus Among Us was a full length. But first big album was
Yeah.
Science. But yeah, and then it just kind of progressed from there. And so then I kind of dug myself into a hole and only listened to heavier stuff, just completely voiding out anything else that wasn't heavy, because if it wasn't heavy enough, it wasn't for me. And then I quickly realized how stupid that was.
Yeah.
And then I started getting into bands like, um, The Faint and Blood Brothers, even though they're still a little kind of like spastic. Stuff like Shiny Toy Guns, Isley, Murder by Death. There's so many good bands out there that nobody can. You should never um, swear off any genre because there's odds are there's
Yeah.
something in there that's going to tickle your fancy.
Yeah, yeah. I just also, I guess within the past year or so, so still kind of recently, um, learned that where, for the longest time, I also pride myself on having such a wide music taste and everything. But, for the longest time, people would ask me like, "Oh, what do you listen to? What do you like?" And I was like, anything but classical and country. And then now for like the
Hmm.
past year or so, and this huge country kick that's going on, specifically like the one that really opened me up to it. A lot of artists I knew would do like one country single here or there, and I was like, oh, okay, okay, like I see it, like, and then
Hmm.
the actually Post Malone F1 Trillion was like the first country album I listened to like start to finish. And I was like, okay, I get this. I see the appeal of it. And now I just feel like I missed out for so many
Yeah,
years. And I'm like fine listening to country, and I'll like if there's a song in it that I like, I'll put it on.
yeah. See, country is like one of the genres that I've actually never really delved too much into. I mean, there are
Yeah.
some like bands that are like
And
a
I
little
yeah, and
folky
I wouldn't say I've delved
that
into
I
it
still
either,
dig.
but I've
Yeah,
I've
but I
now
mean,
opened that door and I'm open to
yeah,
it.
yeah. Your toes are more wet from the water of country than mine are. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm in like ankle depth kind of, and then you're still into
Yeah,
big
yeah,
toes. And yeah,
yeah.
awesome.
I'm still feeling the temperature with the tips of my toes, and I haven't
Yeah,
even stuck them in yet.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And so then, I mean, like with we were talking about that huge gap between Cannibal and now. I mean, just like with how long you've been doing music, and I'm sure you've seen how tough like music can be. Has there been
Hmm.
any moments of like second guessing, doubting it, anything like that, or wanting to take a break, or have you been pretty steadily going since starting?
Um, you mean like since starting back up, like towards like
Uh,
around
Um,
2022, or just from the beginning?
just like in general in the beginning, like maybe even in that break, what was it kind of like? Oh, maybe this is it, or were you always like, no, I'm gonna do something else. There's gonna be like a new thing coming down.
I mean, when I left the band at the end of 2010, I was I spoke about the morale killer of what that last tour was for me, but I was also, there were other contributing factors. Like we weren't making a lot of money at all, really. I was hungry all the time, as was everybody else. So I'm sure that added to everybody's frustration. And I was tired of being hungry and poor, and I I left, and then I just started working all the time. And I will tell you that the things that I second guessed during the end of 2010 and the beginning of like 2022 when I rejoined, the thing that during that gap that I second guessed was my decision to quit Wretched, um, because that is that it gives me the outlet of writing, which I could do on my own, and I have done on my own. Like I've written some short stories, I've written I've started writing like pieces that I want to turn into graphic novels and potentially like
Awesome.
a book of short stories or a series of novels. But yeah, I'd say that was my biggest second guess. But when it comes to now, there is no more second guessing for me because I know that this is my firm passion and this is what I want to do. I love writing. I love performing. I love meeting new people all the time. I I just I love all the positive aspects of it, to the point where nothing is really pissing me off anymore about it, like any of the negatives. I'm finding myself very easily able to look past the negatives because I know what it's like to not have the music in my life. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I think that's an awesome sentiment to have and really, really meaningful. And so I'm curious with like because you like you said, write all the time, even outside the band. Like you can do it for yourself, everything. Um, outside the band, inside the band, anything, even like these graphic novels that you've written. Is there something that like you made it, you're like, have a vision for it, create it, and then just like over time you've like developed new meaning for it, or it's like been attached to new memories?
What's the question behind that?
Sorry. Um, is there, I'll say a song, but it can be anything you've written, that you wrote like with one meaning in mind, and then since then it's like grown to take on a new meaning or like evolve in meaning.
I wouldn't like honestly from stuff that I wrote in the past, not really. I think a lot of those songs were done with like incredible extreme intent. Um, because back then I didn't really have a lot of I didn't have as much life experience as I do now. I mean, yeah, of course, I grew out of my teenage years, and you know how traumatic that can be for any human being. Um, but I didn't really embed any personal experience um, into music or into my writings in the sense of like subconsciously. Now, with this new album, Decay, there is stuff that I'm noticing um, within my lyrical content that are reflective of things that I was going through at the time of writing them when I was not conscious that that's actually what I was writing about. I mean, it is part of the story, the fictional story that I wrote, and it applies to the fictional story that I wrote entirely.
Hmm.
But there are pieces that do apply to my personal emotion and my my experience in real time. Like clairvoyance, for instance. That song, when I wrote it, there's a couple, there's a lyric in that so cold and empty after you died um, that is subconsciously that is after like listening to it several times I was just like yeah that's definitely about my mother who I'd lost in 2019 um and you know everybody's still
Hmm.
like you know it's
Yeah.
tough to
I'm sorry
reel
about
from
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's okay, I appreciate it. Life happens, man, and you know she had a great life and she had people that loved her all around, so she she was an awesome woman, and yeah, we all loved her, and she's still great in our minds.
Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and then there's like you know relationship stuff that you know some of that you know like when you're in a toxic relationship, some of that stuff is likely going to segue its way into the lyrical content, whether you're trying to put it there or not. It just kind of happened. And then
It's the
there's
emotions you're
certain
feeling at
lyrics.
that time.
Yeah, exactly. And with the writing of this new album, I was every every single song that I would do because I wrote every single song the way that it was handed to me, and every single song connects to the one prior to it. Like this, it's one full
Okay.
story. And so I would like let's just say I wrote the Golden Tide, which is the first part of the story, but like the 10th track on the album. And then I wrote Blackout, which is the 11th track on the album, but the second part of the story. And then, you know, so on and so forth. Um, but once I was finished with the Golden Tide, I would start on Blackout, but I would every night before I would start working on those lyrics, I would go back and listen to the Golden Tide all the way through and then start working on Blackout. And it just really put my head into that space. And there were some pretty dark periods throughout that, which also contributed to how dark the album is, especially with the content. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I kind of went off on a tangent again, but whatever.
No, it's all right. That is what podcasts are like, longer form things are for, and it's
Yeah.
awesome. And but I love that that process that you described is kind of built like going in order almost, or like creating in order
Hmm.
of the album. I just actually literally yesterday talked to Vince from Evoken, if you know them, who actually I
Hmm.
think yeah, they're another band, kind of heavy. I forget what genre they like to classify themselves as, but a heavier band, definitely. And we're talking about for their album that it was written like even like down to instrumentals made in order, and like keeping the end of one song in mind to kind of like transition into the next song on the
Hmm.
album, which I think is awesome. And anytime, I know it's a bit less common now, but anytime I hear even two songs or an album that has that smooth transition between songs, I absolutely love it. And I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is how music should be made.
Yeah, I really enjoy it when bands do that as well, where everything just transitions seamlessly. It's one big song because it
Yeah.
goes so well together. Um, I mean, we definitely have our new album laid out in the way that it does sound the best, but unfortunately, it wasn't the way that the story plays out. So,
Yeah.
like I said, the Golden Tide is basically chapter one of the story, but it's track 10 of the album.
Yeah.
So we did a really cool thing with this one where I actually did write a ton of backstory, like maybe not backstory, but I wrote an introduction and that comes before the Golden Tides lyrics. And then after the Golden Tides lyrics, I wrote another chunk of story. And then Blackout comes, and then I wrote another chunk of story, so on and so forth throughout the entire
Awesome.
album, which
Yeah.
I was doing in full real time when I was writing the lyrics, just so that I could get it all down and make sense of it for myself. So within the liner notes, if you buy physical media, the CD booklet is going to have the pages of lyrics in the way that they play out on the album in listening order. But then after that, there's an excerpt that I wrote, and it's actually from a deleted portion of the song "The Crimson Sky," and that is a segue from the lyrical content. It's got that on its own page, and then you flip that page over, and then my story starts. And then below
So
that chunk of story is the title, the Golden Tide. And we don't repeat the lyrical content in that, but that is
yeah.
just so that the reader can reference the Golden Tide's lyrics, so that you listen to it in the standard like listening format, the listening order as
Yeah.
it is presented to you, but then you have the opportunity to start reading the story and then re-listen to the album in story order, so that you get the full feeling of what is actually fucking happening within these notes and these lines of lyrics.
That is so sick. I'm so curious now.
Thanks.
Do you know 21 Pilots, or like their story in
I know
music?
who they are. I don't know their story. I
Yeah,
I
no,
know the
that's
name, and I know that they are incredibly popular.
yeah, but that's all right because they have, I mean, they actually just wrapped it up with this latest album, but they have this whole storyline going through different albums of their thing and like shown in music videos, which is why like I thought of it or thought that you would love it. But that is so awesome and cool to me, and it's I don't think there's
Oh,
a
that's
worry,
awesome.
or at least it's okay to have a difference between listening order and story order, because they do the same thing where like yes, all these
Yeah.
albums are involved in the story, but and it sounds like Decay pretty much is a story album, but like even for them the album will
Yeah,
be like
it's
centered,
absolutely.
yeah, and for them some of the albums will be like centered around the story, but there are songs about just like something else, like the singer's personal life and
Hmm.
everything. And
Yeah.
so there are like story songs sprinkled throughout and also kind of out of order. And you have to
Hmm.
like almost like treat it like a puzzle, like move all these pieces around and
Yeah.
shuffle it around to get the story, which is awesome, and is what kind of made me fall in love with music in the first place, was kind of
Yeah.
them and that storytelling. Because I before that just like knew that it was like songs are their own kind of things, and then albums are like, okay, these songs go together. And the fact that they not only like
Hmm.
went album to album, but also showed it with music videos in such like a cinematic way, it blew my mind. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is a whole new world, and like absolutely was like kind of the pinnacle of music for me, and got me into a whole nother level of like production, storytelling, music, all of that. And that's when I fell in love
That's
with it.
awesome.
But yeah,
Yeah, I had no
awesome.
idea that they did stuff like that either. I love bands that do that, man. So that makes me want to check out 21 Pilots in depth on that front.
Yeah, I
I
would.
mean,
It's
that's a reason why I love the band The Deer Hunter so much as well. I don't know if you've heard of
mhm.
them, but
I
they're
haven't.
fantastic. They're
Yeah,
good mix of rock, alternative, folk. It's just they're all over the place, man. They're so freaking cool, man, and it's they're just so freaking
yeah,
rad. But
yeah.
with the story stuff, like that's with the out of order thing, and as you said, like it's kind of like a puzzle that you have to, as a fan, you have to put the pieces together yourself. That's exactly what happened with Beyond the Gate. And Beyond the Gate is pretty much the future of Decay. Decay is part of the same world. It just takes place like 1,000+ years prior. So I've got a returning character one primarily called El Turiel, which is the first lyrics of Decay. I say I call upon El Turiel, and
Mhm.
that's if for people that were fans of Beyond the Gate and stuff like that in depth, um, and they caught that, they would know that there's more coming from that story and side of things, which I'm incredibly tickled to be delivering to people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was excited for this album, and you just got me even more excited. So I'm definitely looking
Good,
forward to it
man.
when
I'm
it comes
happy.
out. And I mean, yeah, for 21 Pilots, I mean, I'm if you want to get into it, I have any questions, I can kind of lead you through that. But it's a it's a bit to get into, but I think it's awesome. And like I said, this latest album kind of wrapped it up. So now, I mean, I like as a fan, I'm
Hmm.
fine if they just go like the traditional songwriting and music making route. But now a lot of people are like, okay, are they starting a new story? Like, where are they going to take it from here? But yeah, highly recommend
Yeah.
because it's awesome. Um, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of. Oh, do you have any kind of like dream collaborations that you would want to do? Like if Wretched could kind of got get sorry, if Wretched got this chance to like make a song with any band, any artist in the world, who would you want to collaborate with?
Oh man. Honestly, I haven't even really thought about anything like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would want to do something a little more outside of the box, something that's not a part of the metal genre. Maybe not so much as like the route that like Falling in Reverse went with Jelly Roll or something like that. Like something similar to that. Like you know, the heavy mixed with country or like heavy mixed with pop. Because I mean, what is it like? Poppy uh, did like some stuff with, was it
Oh,
Knocked Loose?
um,
It wasn't,
yeah, it was.
was
Wait,
it?
now I'm getting a bunch of collaborations mixed up. Was it this? I'm probably going to be so wrong, but was it Bring Me the Horizon or something like that? No, that's something else.
No,
Bring,
yeah, bring. I
um,
mean,
yeah, no. Shoot. Now I'm starting to think about this.
it's
Um,
an overthinking now.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, we just gotta. I'm gonna quickly see if I can just find the Poppy collaboration that we're thinking of. Um, no, oh, Baby Metal. They've also done some collaborations, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Brad.
Um, yeah, okay. I'm just gonna leave it there because I know this is getting too long.
Yeah,
But yes, yes, I
but I
know
mean, yeah,
I know the collaboration you're thinking of.
yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I would like Casey Crescenzo from the Deer Hunter, man. I love his vocal style. His melody is incredible. He's a freaking phenomenal songwriter. I would love to collaborate with somebody like him, just because he does the concept stuff as well. He's a great storyteller. Anybody like that, like, and yeah, I mean, he'd probably be my number one right now if I had to choose somebody off the bat and just be like, okay, you can have one person right now. Who's it going to be? I'd be like, okay, Casey Crescenzo. He can't say no. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. Um, well, I mean, yeah, I mean, thanks, Billy, for coming on. Those are all the questions I have for you today. But I'm so glad that we kind of got. I'm glad that we got kind of on a tangent at the end there with like
Yeah,
storytelling and
absolutely.
music and everything. Because that, I mean, that was awesome, and I had a great time. I hope you did too, and I
Dude,
can't
I
wait
did
to,
definitely.
yeah, and I can't wait to hear the album October 17th.
I can't wait for you to hear it either. I can't wait for everybody to hear this new album, whether
Yeah,
they like it or not. I want them to hear it and then form
yeah.
their own opinion.
Yeah, and then get the physical media so they can piece the story
Absolutely.
together. And
Yeah,
then
get the physical
that way
media.
that way if they didn't like it, they'll piece the story together and be like, "Oh, okay, I like this now."
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. Piece
Yeah.
the story together and you'll automatically like it.
Yeah.